My name's Judy Caldwell. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1991. I was 46 years old, and you can do the math. I had the very good fortune of having wonderful doctors.
My name's Salima Noon, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer almost 5 years ago when I was 36. I had found a lump one night and went to the doctor the very next day. And they removed the lump, and after waiting 5 days, 5 long days for the results, I went to my surgeon's office, and by then I'd convinced myself that it was nothing to worry about. It must have been a cyst, it must have been a fibroid. But when the surgeon told me that I had breast cancer, I felt so many different emotions. I looked at my husband next to me, and he looked like he was going to pass out.
Good evening, my name is Gail Spurgeon. I am a breast cancer survivor. I had breast cancer 17 years ago. I was absolutely sure that I was going to overcome this, and I was going to do whatever needed to happen to overcome it. It was life-changing, for sure.
Hello, my name is Feather. I sit here today as a 40-year-old woman who's had breast cancer twice. I didn't think I'd ever make it to 40. My journey with breast cancer started a while ago, 17 years ago actually. I was 23 when I got breast cancer diagnosis the first time. It was a shock to everyone, to my doctors, my family, my friends.
I cried my eyes out for the first 2 days and wasn't sure how I was going to tell people.
I'm 36 years old. I don't want to die.
My daughter wrapped her arms around me and said, "I don't want you to die, Mom." And I said, "I'm not going to die of this."
My little girls were just about 2 and 4, and trying to explain to them the magnitude of my situation. It was hard to explain to such little ones because they're not going to understand the concept of cancer.
I think the hardest people to tell about your diagnosis is your family, because they are the loved ones that care so much about you. And cancer seems to be a word that frightens everybody, and everybody sees it as that possible death sentence. So it's very difficult to tell them, and it's very difficult to see their reaction and their emotion.
The hardest part was telling my parents that night. They were devastated. At the time I was in shock, but in the days after, I felt mostly anger. I felt confusion, I felt all kinds of different emotions.
For myself, I wasn't even aware that women so young could even get the disease, let alone to find out that, in fact, a lot of women under the age of 30 even died from the disease in Canada.
What I appreciated most is when my friends and family members cried with me, because that showed me that they were really with me in this journey.
I had to face 18 months of treatment, which included another mastectomy. It included 6 months of very hard chemo. It included 28 radiation treatments and also a year of IV Herceptin treatment. I was very sick through most of it.
Throwing up into my garbage pail was another one of those side benefits that wasn't great.
And they shaved it all off, and I'll never forget, my 4-year-old came up to me and she put her hand on my knee and she goes, "Mommy, you're still so beautiful." That's when I started to cry.
My greatest fear would be to be diagnosed with it again.
My fear was that my girls would grow up not having any memory of me. They wouldn't know me.
Every morning when I wake up, I walk out in my front porch and I say, "Good morning, world," and it feels great.
Back then, I used to tell my friends that it was the slash, burn, and poison method. And it was one of the reasons I wanted to do something to help with research to make the treatment not so terrible. And I think that over the years, in raising funds for research, we've been able to do just that.
The work that we're doing today through the 2020 A Vision for the Future without breast cancer is still building and supporting the team of people who are out there working very hard, very hard to give us a future where we don't fear breast cancer anymore.
I think the research is the important part, because we're trying to ensure that there is no breast cancer that becomes a death diagnosis.
I found my lump when I was 36 years old, nowhere near getting my regular mammograms. And I found it through self-exam. And so when I hear of medical professionals suggesting that self-exams aren't needed or aren't important, it makes me enraged, because if it weren't for self-exam, I may not be here today.
I think what's important about what we're doing now is that we have a plan. Lots of people have got plans, but we have a plan, I believe, that can be executed, that will make a huge difference in women's lives by 2020. We've brought the best people possible together, and we've said, what do you need? What do you want to push this agenda forward so that by 2020, we're not afraid of breast cancer. It's just a stutter, just a minor event in our lives that we can deal with. It's chronic, it's neutralized. They told us. And we put it together, and we're going to implement that plan. And you just wait. By 2020, we'll be celebrating